When Rarity is walking through town, she sees this house, and curiosity gets the best of her. As she enters the abandoned home, she realizes the sinister history of the fateful home. The Butcher's Sanctuary, written by TheEvilCookie. Chapter 1. Some places are meant be left alone. Rarity was in Manhattan while she shopped for clothes and material for her boutique. She had fallen behind her shopping, so she needed to get it done that day. While she was walking the streets and shopped at different stores, her mind drifted to Sweetie Belle as she wondered how her sister was doing that day. She soon finished her shopping and wondered about Sweetie Belle more. As she continued to walk through the streets of Manhattan, she started to miss her friends, but tried to shrug off the feeling as she had only been gone for a few hours. She could handle it, so she wasn't sure what that thought was about. She decided to head back to her place to go hang out with her sister, as she missed her, and her friends, and her neighbors. She stopped at a few more stops and turned around and walked back to her place. It took quite a few steps, but she didn't care, as it didn't even tire her out. When she got back to Equestria, she walked through town when she came across a house. She meant to go past it, but she didn't pass it at all. She stopped and looked at it. She saw that it was dark inside, but she did see the living room. She knew that nobody was living inside. She became curious, and that was bad, because if she broke in, she would be trespassing. But it weirded her out that she has never seen that particular house before. She looked at the door and looked around to see that nobody was watching her. She saw that most of the citizens were too busy with their stuff to catch her. So she turned the doorknob and found it to be locked. She gave it a few more pushes, but it didn't work. She sighed. She got out her hairpin and picked the lock with it. When she opened the door, she saw that the house was still full of furniture and garbage. She stood in the doorway as she felt as if something touched her. She flinched, but didn't think anything of it. It also felt cold, which was odd, but Rarity shrugged it off and went inside while she closed the door. She walked to the living room, looking at the inside. She shivered, but saw some abandoned photos that were left behind. It showed a family of 3, but she couldn't identify them. It just seemed like they fled. Sure enough, Rarity found evidence of their quick departure. It baffled her how much stuff was left behind. She felt a certain sadness inside the place. Her mood turned into fear. She didn't know what it was that frightened her, but the place made her feel uneasy while she was there. She felt as if she shouldn't be there. She looked through medicine and found old divorce papers. She tried to remain brave. She checked the bedroom and felt the same feeling that was feeling all throughout the house. That was dread. She quickly took out her camera in shaky arms and decided to film every room in the house. She was too afraid to do it at first, but she thought it was a good idea so she could play it and see why it was so creepy. She could also send the video to someone and they could explain about the house. She felt like somebody was behind her. She squealed as she filmed the house. She then heard a voice in her ear whisper, "Get out," it said. That was when Rarity screamed in terror and fled the house. She was crying and breathing hysterically. Celestia saw her and sighed with relief. "Rarity, why were you in that place?" Celestia asked as she panicked. Rarity was speechless. She wanted to talk about the voice. "Somebody said something to me in there," Rarity cried as Celestia took her by the hand and had held her face up close. "Rarity, is it true you broke into the house? Why would you do that? You should know that place is off limits. There is a sign right on the door that warns citizens not to enter. Never go there. It's off limits," Celestia said as she panicked. "I don't understand it. What happened there?" Rarity asked. Celestia huffed in annoyance as she went up and locked the door shut while she took Rarity by the hand and led her away. Celestia got her and Rarity into a private, secluded area, and Celestia spoke. "Rarity, don't you ever go in that house ever again. It's off limits to the public. Only the royal governance and the Ponyville Town Hall has access to the house. I'm going to tell you something, okay? Years ago, there was a murder involving a couple. The man," Celestia said as she began to tear up. "The man killed his wife by butchering her and then lured people into his place and killed them as well. It was sickening, Rarity. He was named the Butcher. It was so terrible, I can't even speak about it, Rarity. Never go in there again. Understand?" Celestia cried. Rarity nodded quickly. Celestia calmed down and gave Rarity a hug. "I'm sorry for yelling at you. Never go in there." That voice that was speaking to you was the wife's voice. It's just too terrible. I can't even muster up the courage to speak, and I'm the princess of Equestria. Even me, the princess, can't speak about it. If you want, read about it. Go to the library and look up the Butcher. But please, don't ever go into the house again," Celestia exclaimed. Rarity nodded and they hugged. When Rarity got to the library, she calmed down and checked out the book, and what she read there terrified her, as the butcher's crimes were spelled out in perfect detail. Right after he had butchered her wife, he went around and brought victims to his place and killed them. He killed himself after the police was tipped off about him. She closed the book and put it away immediately. She didn't want to read about the details of what the maniac did. She learned her lesson and never went into a scary house again, and she would make sure to stay far away from that house. The end.